Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Blessings and salutations. I hope everyone out there is having a blessed day. I'd like to introduce myself. I go by the name of Storm, and I'll be your master of ceremonies tonight. I just wanted to get on here and have a quick conversation about WWE's premium live event, Bad Blood, coming up this Saturday. There's a lot of online discourse happening right now. And fair enough, because there's a lot of things in wrestling happening right now. A lot of moving parts. One big thing that we must discuss is breaking news quoted yesterday from Fightful Select and other various wrestling forums or blog sites that the best feud that WWE has going on right now in CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre, the Second City Saint versus the Scottish Psychopath. I don't think you get more poetic than these two being in a Hell in a Cell match. And not only that, but a Hell in a Cell match that's not on a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, premium live event, whatever you want to call it. It's not being pushed down our throats like Hell in a Cell used to be. This feels different. This feels fresh. This feels new. And it has a lot of nuance to it. The feud in itself of CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre has been dripping in nuance. It has been engulfed in nuance. And when in the last time in wrestling did you get cohesive nuance in wrestling? I will wait. Right. So I think they're doing a big disservice to not only their brand and what they've been preaching to the masses and the IWC, that this is a new era, the Paul Levesque era. It is just a flat out disservice to CM Punk himself. And it kind of does the same thing with Drew. It gives another reason for Drew to be an asshole. Like, you didn't just take that main event away from me. You took it away from Drew as well. And I think that's how Punk is looking at the situation he finds himself at today, probably, is coming off of damn near a decade of not being in this company. You get back here. You have one of the best feuds in the company. And Dwayne comes back in again and steals the spotlight. It almost feels like it is fantasy booking itself at this point. Because yes, we got the Punk Rock, ha ha ha, the Punk versus Rock match, but it was nothing. And you can tell Punk was just going through the motions at that point. You could tell that Rock really was just there to get a paycheck and put over his new movie. I just don't see it happening any other way. I know that people want Punk to go after Gunther and his world title, and I think you're doing a big disservice to Drew in all of this, actually. Not only him getting the main event taken away from him, but honestly, everybody feels like CM Punk and Gunther is the next step. But where does that leave Drew? Right? Where does that leave him in the terms of hierarchy in WWE? He's not a mid Carter, but he's not directly in the title picture anymore either. It's kind of like Damien, where he's not a mid Carter. He's a former world champion, but he's not fighting for championships right now. I'm going to go out on a limb, right, and say online discourse is horrible. People are going to be mad at everything. You are never going to get 100% of people to agree with any booking decision because people are different. People feel for people in other ways, and it just doesn't always go to plan. But again, I just feel like this is a big disservice to Punk, to Drew, and to how much you have been building Hell in the Cell back up to be this devastating thing, only for it to be number one on the card. Now, again, that's not a bad placement if you're not ending, you're starting. Some may say, but I don't know. Again, big disservice. But we go on to the main event overall of Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes versus New Bloodline, Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu. And guys, when I tell you this is by far the most interesting match since maybe last year's match of Rock and Roman versus Cody and Seth, even though that was way more linear and it felt more linear because as soon as they said the tag match, they put the stipulation to it. This does not have any stipulation. Really, we're trying to build towards war games from what the online wrestling community really sees it going down, is that we're building towards war games. Old versus new bloodline. Okay, so There's been a couple other rumors coming out lately since the Punk and McIntyre feud has been pushed up to opening the show. This has been booked as the main event. It was widely speculated that it might be. I don't think people are too surprised at it. I just think people are kind of disappointed in it not being Punk and Drew. But from what the rumor mills have been saying, one, Jimmy's return was supposed to happen probably this Saturday at Bad Blood, but there have been some complications. He might not be back in time, so they pivot. What they pivot to now, though, is The Rock coming back and kind of pushing that storyline up more, probably to boost sales. Because I feel like if you just did the tag team match in the opener and had Jimmy come down and save the day for Cody and Roman in that sense, I think that would have been fine. And that pushes that storyline more towards War Games at that point. Now, though, what I really feel like they're building towards is three different type of matches with this one main event happening. They're building towards three different type of matches. They're building towards actually four, because we'll get way down the line, but they are booking Solo and Cody 3. And I firmly believe that once we get down to my prediction about who's winning and everything, you'll see why I picked that they're going to do Cody Solo 3. I feel like they're building towards Rock and Cody. They're still in the background trying to do Rock and Roman, obviously. But then we get the real match of Roman and Jacob Fatu. Now, if I'm a betting man, which I'm not, I barely like spending $5 at a casino, and I live in Las Vegas. Just to put that to perspective. But if I was betting, I say The Rock comes, helps the bloodline win in this case. Solo gets the pin on Cody. That in turn sets up him and Cody round 3, because it feels like a proper rubber match at that point, because we already know that Cody has beat Solo twice. And so it just doesn't make any sense to build to that unless we're getting Solo Cody 3 for the championship. And Solo wins. That's a hot take. That's a hot take. I'll take that back. That's a hot take. But but I fully believe that they are building towards Cody Solo 3, because Solo needs this win specifically. Out of everybody else, Cody is a champion. Roman is just coming back, but he's mega over. And Jacob Fatu is super over as well. Everybody else in that match will be fine not getting the pin except for Solo. Solo is the one that if he doesn't get the pin, people really start doubting. Because people already doubt. This may be another hot take too, but I like what they have been doing with Solo. I've said it online a couple different times in a couple different forums that I'm in, and but I really truly feel like Solo feels much different than every other Samoan that has been in WWE prior to him. And what I mean by that is that before Roman and before the Usos, and even in their tenures, they were still just looked at as the wild Samoans or the head shrinkers 2.0, or you know what I mean, like, or Umaga or a cooler Umaga. Like any of those things, there's a stereotype, and I hate to put it like that, but there's a common stereotype that WWE uses for their Samoan wrestlers. Like I said, the Usos did it earlier in their careers. Roman was kind of like that earlier in his career, very bland Samoan babyface wrestler. Solo himself, even the Tongans feel like they are just again the head shrinkers or the Samoan SWAT team. All of this, Jacob Jacob feels like Umaga. And that's what's getting him more and more over, because that's what we thought Solo was at first. And then we get this pivot of Solo into the tribal chief, because they kind of teased it before. So I like what they do with Solo. I like this whole match, because whenever I tell people I think Solo's getting the pin on Cody, they are like, "Bro, that makes no sense. That makes no sense. Why would they do that?" Heat, my brother. Heat. Jacob pinning Cody isn't heat. It's just adding popularity to Jacob himself. It's not even going to get the bloodline over like how Solo pinning Cody, specifically Cody, and not Roman, will make him feel. Because again, if we're building towards matches like Rock and Roman, Roman and Jacob, Solo has to get in there somewhere and feel like a main event player to Roman as well. He doesn't get that. He doesn't even get the chance to bark at Roman like that. Dog versus dog until he can beat Cody. And Cody is still 2 up on Solo right now. It does nothing. It builds towards War Games to have either Roman or Cody pin either one of them. But if you want some story, if you want something dripped in some lore, you let Solo pin Cody here and let him go on a tirade of, I need to be next up for that championship because I pinned you. Cody comes out and he's like, I've beaten you twice. one on one. Why do you think you need a shot at me again? And Solo can manipulate. Solo can really grind those manipulative gears because we know already that Cody is a fighting champion. He's a brawling baby face. I think if you want some real, if you want the story to really have some legs where you can ride this off into the sunset, have Solo pin Cody right here, and then have him go on a whole tirade for a while about I beat the fucking champion. We have the numbers. I beat the champion. Who's gonna stop us? We go on to another match that is really like just up in the air. Finn Balor versus Damian Priest. Finn and Damian themselves have been this feud to me has been running on a little too long. I feel like this should have been over with about 2 months ago. Just me. And then I am firmly on the side of, yeah, I get that y'all want to push Damian Priest. I get that. But, God, WWE just continues to fucking fumble the ball and the bag with Finn every time. Finn gives you a banger match every time. It doesn't matter if the match has story or not. Finn gives you a banger match every time. And Finn is dipped in lore. Finn himself is dipped in lore. And I'm surprised that they've never, they've never done it. Do you know how many times they could have booked a a a neon, not neon, but a Nyan Bullet Club Civil War? Realistically speaking, do you know how many times they could have done that? And that would have sold. It would have sold. Let me say it. Let me say it one more time. It would have sold. Let's just put it in realm of business per se. Bullet Club merchandise is literally the top 3 all-time seller in merchandise all over the fucking wrestling world. Bullet Club t-shirts are number 3 basically. Are number 3 behind John Cena towels, which is crazy, which is crazy. Behind John Cena products and Stone Cold Steve Austin's Austin 316 shirt. Literally, Bullet Club is right behind those 2 things. Literally, Bullet Club has sold more merchandise than Rey Mysterio has. I had to pause for a second because I don't know if y'all know how lucrative Rey has been for his entire career, but Rey has been probably a top 5 seller of merch in his career, always almost. almost always because of how over he was and is still till this day at almost 50. But I digress. Um, let's speed this up a little bit more. I'm rambling at this point. We're 25 minutes in. I got Finn winning because again, if you really want these stories to have legs and to be able to really gallop and gallivant into the night, like I think how Triple H likes to tell stories, which what we've seen from NXT beforehand, this is his MO of rich storytelling over months and months. I say Finn gets the win here. I believe that you can't have both Terra Twins win on the night anyways. So you give Finn this win because I really feel like, oh, now that I said it out loud though, and after I just thought about it, Rhea's the one that's losing. The shark cage thing, eh, I'll get into. I'm gonna do a hot take video tomorrow about a lot of different things, but just just me thinking about it right now, I got Liv winning that match. I think Dom either gets out of the cage or he drops something to her. She knocks her out. She gets the win. Liv is great, by the way. Liv has been doing some of her best career work as well. So since since Rhea is not winning, just give the just give the win to Damien, I guess. And now that I'm saying it out loud, it's probably going that way because Damien himself, per se, has been getting his ass handed to him for the past like 3 weeks, while Rhea has kind of skirted out and kind of almost gotten her hands on Liv or Dom until like, she gets taken out. So yeah, I think Liv is winning, and I think Damien is going over because Rhea will be fine. Rhea's going to be fine if she loses. She's going to be fine. I feel like Damien himself isn't quite as over as a babyface as what WWE might like to think. Cause I really liked Damien more as a heel. I feel like he had a lot more personality. But we will see about that. The last we talked about CM Punk. Yep. We talked about those three. It's a 5 match card. What other match am I forgetting? Oh, Gunther versus Sammy. I got Gunther winning. I don't see Sammy winning here. I see Sammy going, if not going on to the War Games match with the Bloodline. I feel like Sammy just. I feel like Sammy should go after the Intercontinental Championship, and maybe that's just me being me, but not a like. It would really get both of them over right this moment if they did a a Jay versus Solo like kind of mini feud, like you know what I'm kind of like how they're doing with the best of seven series with Andrade and um Carmelo Hayes, which I can see why. I just don't know. I just don't know. So I got Gunther. I don't think Gunther's losing the title. I don't know what you do with Sammy from here though. Like where does he go from here? Like I said, maybe on to the War Games match. Maybe if they pivot like how I think they're going to pivot from the Cody being in the bloodline situation to having him kind of phase out and then really leaving that for Roman, Rock, Solo, and all of the bloodline people to deal with that on their own. Um, I would say just have Sammy go after the Intercontinental Championship. To be honest, like I would very much so think that that's a good, and you will get banger matches from it, dipped in story. Maybe one teases Maybe Jay teases turning heel through it all. Maybe Jay, I know people are loving Jay as a baby face, but really think about him versus Sammy and them kind of like doing the same thing with the Kevin Owens thing with Cody. It's like, will he turn on his friend or not to really keep his championship? Um okay, so we got through those, and I guess I wouldn't necessarily say the most boring match, but the match that feels most in the books already. But even then, it feels like you get these different pathways to go on to it depending on how it goes. You have Nia Jax defending her belt against Bailey. Nia wins. I feel like Bailey. I feel like people are underwhelmed with Bailey right now, and she needs to go away for a minute. I feel like if Bailey takes a little time off, maybe like a month, maybe two, it doesn't need to be super long, maybe even like 2 weeks, just 2 weeks off, I think would do her um, some much needed like re exposure to fans. Because I feel like she's getting too overexposed right now. She's losing a lot. She lost the championship. The championship reign was kind of underwhelming to a lot of people. Um, and so, if we're not going to do anything substantial with Bailey, I say let her go on and leave for a little bit and let the heart grow fonder. But the way that I see it, and this is just me booking things how I want to book them, but if it was me, I'd have Tiffany come and not necessarily cash in, but really do kind of the same thing, kind of make it seem like she's there to help Nia with a distraction. But then we get Naomi coming out to try to diffuse. But in the midst of all of the chaos, I would really love to see Naomi just hit Bailey with something and leave her laying there and look at her and just look at Naya and walk off. Because if Jimmy was supposed to come back today, or not today, but on Saturday, like how the plans were, I just feel like it's easier to just have her turn heel at this moment, and then you have a ready-made feud with Bailey right there that you can pivot off into, and then you leave Nia and Tiffany to kind of deal with what they're doing. Because honestly, by how over both Nia and Tiffany is, and how interesting that feud feels right now, I think they could do a heel versus heel match for the title. I think they can run that. I think you do a turn in that match. I think maybe you turn Tiffany, but I don't like Tiffany being the baby face either. I don't like it. I would rather have Nia be the baby face and be kind of the all conquering baby face that we thought that they would have booked Bailey as, but we see that we didn't get that. So um but yeah, those are my predictions. Um Let me know down if I'm just chatting. Just let me know that I'm chatting. But if y'all feel like how I feel and you're a casual fan that you really don't keep up with everything in wrestling, you don't find yourself watching every show, but you are enough of a fan to keep up with it somehow. I fully invite you to this channel. My name is Storm, and I hope y'all have a blessed and sanctified day, man. Peace.